Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to take a look at something super exciting, something I've been kind of hyping up and promoting for quite a while. This is the ThinkArt Dunkleosteus. This is their fourth release now as far as these ThinkArt figures go, and I have absolutely loved each and every one so far. You can see as far as the box art goes, you have a really nice image of the Dunkleosteus here on the front. I am incredibly excited because, again, I am a gigantic fan of the ThinkArt line, and I have loved every release to this point, but this one specifically I feel like is potentially going to be my favorite, as something about the Dunkleosteus is just so cool, but this version overall looks incredibly nice. So let's go ahead and break this box open and get a look at it. So as soon as you open it up, you have a really cool card right here giving you all kinds of information about the Dunkleosteus, as well as a really nice image of the Dunkleosteus there in the background. It also states that this is 1/35th scale model with the base, and it is 3D sculpted. So I am incredibly excited to pull the Dunkleosteus out of the actual packaging, as we've only looked at this so far. So here we are. I just put it on the base, and look at how incredible that Dunkleosteus is. Absolutely gorgeous looking Dunkleosteus. This is something I was, again, so hyped for, really impatiently awaiting its arrival because I was just incredibly excited about getting a look at this figure in person, and I can definitely tell you that I am in no way, shape, or form let down by the overall beauty of this Dunkleosteus. Look at that incredibly nice sculpt work. I just love the way the fins and everything appear to be reacting to sort of the movement, and the way that the water would be kind of running through the fins. Look at that really nice wavy appearance. It looks insanely nice. But this set, if you ordered it early enough, again, I don't know if there are any left, but there's probably a good chance there is, you could also get something that is as equally impressive as the Dunkleosteus itself, and that is this. I don't want to smack our Dunkleosteus in the mouth right there. You can get a Dunkleosteus skull model with your Dunkleosteus model overall. So I am absolutely flabbergasted by the beauty of both of these. Let's go ahead and get a closer look at them right now. So starting with the actual Dunkleosteus, look at how insanely well done the sculpt of this is. The actual detailing of the head up here is just off the charts, as is the paintwork. You can see so many different variations of color kind of put within the armored area of the Dunkleosteus and its head sculpt, and I love the way he's kind of like outlined certain areas like the borders with like a darker coloration, and then as we get into like the center, it becomes a lot lighter and really nice looking, and everything is beautifully applied, extremely realistic overall as far as the way that this has been painted, and this has actually been sculpted and painted by the same person. So each and every ThinkArt release, and that's one thing I always like to state about how cool it is, each and every ThinkArt release you actually get painted by the artist himself, so it doesn't really get much cooler than that if you ask me. I love how you have kind of like a pinkish coloration to these areas in here, and you can also see that same pinkish area there to the inside of the eye area, and the eye itself is painted with a nice blackish coloration and glossed perfectly. It looks extremely realistic. Again, look at how insanely well done just the texturing of the armored area is. As I turn it, you can really see just each and every beautiful detail included within this Dunkleosteus. Even right here, look at how insanely well done that is as far as like the sculpt and detail department goes. And if we go to the bottom of the Dunkleosteus, again, look at all the different color variation included. It looks so insanely realistic. Really nice fins here on the side of the Dunkleosteus as well. If we actually come up here and look inside the front of the Dunkleosteus and inside the mouth, you can see that the mouth as well has extremely realistic paintwork to it. Lots of color variation included in there, and the sculpt is pretty much off the charts on the inside of the mouth as well. They've done a great job of painting it with like a really nice mixture of like light coloration, like creamy white type colors and pinks and everything within, and it looks super real. And I love that if you look into the back of the mouth, you can pretty much see straight into the throat there. It is totally dark. It really genuinely looks like the Dunkleosteus' actual throat, like it's a real animal, and that is the throat of the Dunkleosteus. Look at that. That is just off the charts insane. And again, over here on this side, you can see how nicely painted that eye is. You can also take note to the nostrils up here, that really cool armored area to the front of the mouth of the Dunkleosteus as well, that trademark area. Once we come back here, again, you can see that really nice fin that I was just talking about. Look at the sculpt of the fin itself. And the nice color variation included within, that is insanely nicely done. As we start to actually move back into the body of the Dunkleosteus, you can actually take note to like the rib cage there. You can also see some really nice, almost like a scaly type of a look to the back of the Dunkleosteus up here. A few creases right there as well. You can see that really nice dorsal fin up here, and the coloration continues to look incredible the whole way back. You can pick out so many different like variations of color as I'm turning this, which just makes it look super real, like a real living animal. Again, the underside, even though you can see that there's some really nice actual like texturing to the underside, has a beautiful, very smooth like appearance, pretty much exactly what I would expect to find if I were to catch a Dunkleosteus and bring it to shore. I would expect the underside to look really nice and smooth like that, but at the same time, like I said, you could see lots of really nice detailing within, almost like a smaller type of a finer scaling up here by the fins as well in that area. And you can see that as we move back into the body, you do tend to get like a little bit of a finer skin texture as far as like a light scaling right there. So you don't have only up here as far as that like kind of like thicker scaling, but you also have a little bit of a finer scaling down here. You can see some nice detailing here around the fins back here. Again, some beautiful sculpt and paintwork within the fins on the rear of the Dunkleosteus as well. Beautiful paintwork over here. Again, look at the really nice variations of color that just pop up at the most random times, just giving it such an incredibly realistic look. And just like I had stated earlier, I love the way the fins are kind of like wavy, and you could just sort of pretty much see the way the water is running through the fins with the movement of the Dunkleosteus at this exact moment in time. It just looks so genuine and so gorgeous overall, especially when you get to the actual tail fin. Again, the detailing of the tail fin itself is just off the charts, but you could see so much of like the waviness of the fin and the way the water is just kind of running through the tail fin of the Dunkleosteus. That has a really nice, very realistic curve to the body as it appears to be making a nice right turn. And you can again see the nice scaling as we lead back here into the tail. If we look at the opposing side, again, it has a very similar look to what we had just seen on the previous side, but you can see the rib cage there. And again, the insanely nicely done paintwork. Beautiful fin here in the front of the Dunkleosteus, over here on this side as well, and even the detailing where like the fins connect is just insanely well done, just beautiful. We once again have that really nice scaly type of a look, and you can see that all the scales are like sculpted out in different sizes. And then as we move down here lower into the body, you can see that skin texture get a lot finer and really smooth once we get to the underside. But again, you can see a slightly bumpy appearance, just like you can see like kind of creases as far as like the underside. So there's a really nice detailing to the figure overall, even in areas that you would expect to be perfectly smooth. They have found a way to include extremely nice sculpt work. So there is no laziness in any way, shape, or form as far as this Dunkleosteus goes. It is just sculpted to the absolute max. Once again, the really nice fin right here on the underside of our Dunkleosteus, as well as these fins here, which we did look at a little bit more earlier, but you can also see that dorsal fin up here that again has an incredible sculpt to it, but really nice paintwork and that very nice wavy appearance to it as we lead back into the tail fin here. And you can see a really nice bluish coloration as you get back into the tail fin. Really, really nicely done in every possible way is this Dunkleosteus. It is just insanely beautiful looking right here. And then we have the base itself, which has a really nice rock to it, like a really rocky area. It appears as though wherever the area is that the Dunkleosteus is currently swimming, it's pretty rocky, and you can see the rock itself is also really nicely sculpted, really beautifully detailed, and nicely painted as well. You can see a nice like kind of a dry brushing that's been done to it, but just generally like some tones of color added to it, which helps to give even the base a very realistic look. And you can see a clear pole sticking out of there. That's where you place your Dunkleosteus onto, with that little hole that's on the underside of the Dunkleosteus. And you have a really nice kind of black base down here as well, which has a nice kind of soft underside so that you don't damage whatever it is that you put your Dunkleosteus on. It also helps to keep it nice and stable and not slide around or anything. So the base looks extremely high quality and overall is perfectly fitting for the Dunkleosteus that sits upon it. And then we also have, again, the incredible skull here of the Dunkleosteus, and the detailing of the skull is almost as insanely beautiful as the Dunkleosteus model itself. It's actually just as beautiful. Look at that. Little cracks and crevices and everything all over the place, all over this Dunkleosteus, making the actual skull model replica here look extremely realistic. Wow, this is just next level as far as the sculpt goes, and even the paintwork. There's like quite a few different tones of color included within the paintwork of this Dunkleosteus skull as well. As we turn it around and take a look at both sides, I'm not going to lie to you guys, as far as the Dunkleosteus skull goes, I don't think it gets any more beautiful than what I see right here. And I'm really excited to be able to add a Dunkleosteus skull to my collection, because that's not something that I have at all in my collection currently. You can even see the inside of the skull is just as beautifully detailed as the outside. So there, again, is no laziness whatsoever when it comes to ThinkArt and their incredible line of prehistoric figures that they have released here. This is insanely well done as far as the sculpt goes. And again, with a very realistic coloration to it, overall, it generally looks like it would be a real living, breathing Dunkleosteus' skull. I mean, he's clearly not living or breathing anymore, but at one time it potentially was. It really does have that very realistic look here in person and looks extremely genuine overall. I feel like you could 100% fool someone that is not familiar with Dunkleosteus into believing that this is the real skull of a once living animal. They have done such a good job on it overall. And the base is just like the base for the other model, where you have the really nice black base and then the soft underside so that it doesn't slide around. So again, this is easily and far and away my new favorite ThinkArt release as far as having an incredible Dunkleosteus model and then the skull model as well. It is just such an incredible deal and the total package without question. Just like I had stated, you find this little hole here on the underside, and the way you apply your Dunkleosteus is to slide the Dunkleosteus down onto that little peg there, and it sits perfectly upon its base. So for a size, for a length, you are looking at around 6.5 inches, or about 16.5 centimeters, and a height at about 4.75 inches, or around 12 centimeters, somewhere in that range for the actual Dunkleosteus. And then for the skull, you would see this come in at a length of about 5 inches or 13 centimeters, maybe like 12.5 centimeters actually. And then for a height, actually the highest point would probably be over here. You're going to see it at about 4 inches or 10 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to both our Dunkleosteus model, the living version, and the skull model as well. And next to these figures here, you should have a pretty good idea as far as what the size is. Being a 1/35th scale model, you should have a pretty good idea roughly of what the Dunkleosteus is in general. But if you do not, hopefully with these figures here next to them, you should now have at least a better idea as far as size goes. The Dunkleosteus, I feel like, is pretty much a perfect size, and the skull model as well is really quite impressive as far as the size goes. So as far as the total package goes, overall, perfect if you ask me. So I am insanely happy now to have a new ThinkArt release here in my collection. It's something that I feel like I've been lacking for many months, as it's been quite a while since we had our last ThinkArt figure. So now having a new one here gives me a very fulfilling feeling, having something new from ThinkArt in my collection, and I can tell you with complete confidence that this is definitely my favorite of all of the ThinkArt releases so far. Being a Dunkleosteus, again, it's a really cool prehistoric fish that is probably one of the more popular prehistoric fish. We can definitely say that. But as far as models go, I feel like on top of being one of ThinkArt's best models, it might be one of the best Dunkleosteus models I have as well in my collection and I may have ever seen. The overall appearance of the Dunkleosteus is extremely well done and has a very beautiful appearance to it, just sort of swimming along with its mouth open, potentially making a sharp turn to try to grab some prey or something along those lines. It definitely has that sort of a look to it, like it is hunting and trying to get its next meal. I really like that base that's underneath as well. It just sort of makes it feel like maybe the Dunkleosteus is down low to the bottom of the ocean floor, trying to grab something maybe within like some crevices or something somewhere down close to the floor where its prey is trying to hide, and that Dunkleosteus absolutely wants its next meal. And you can really see that there within the face of that Dunkleosteus. It looks like it definitely wants to eat whatever it is pursuing. And again, everything as far as the detailing of the Dunkleosteus goes is picture perfect as far as what I would like to see in a Dunkleosteus model. I love the nice curve to the body. Nothing on this looks overly exaggerated or crazy. It really looks very nicely done as far as the way the body is positioned and the very nice curves within the body. The beautiful curves within the fins as well is, again, a really interesting, a really impressive aspect to the model. And the paint job is just off the charts. I really love the way this is painted. It looks extremely lifelike, and there are just so many different tones of color included that it just looks so extremely beautiful overall. Really nice choices of color for the Dunkleosteus as well, with a little bit of a brighter coloration, but it does generally look very natural on the figure, and they've done a great job of including a gloss coat on like the eye and the inside of the mouth and everything like that as well. So the paint work, again, being painted by the actual artist himself, is off the charts. The sculpt work as well is also off the charts, and the entire presentation to begin with that really nice, very high quality looking base, and the beautiful Dunkleosteus model itself is just incredible. And then you have the addition of this extra, which again, I don't know for how long they'll be selling the Dunkleosteus skull with the Dunkleosteus model itself. So if you are interested in this, I would pick it up ASAP so that you can make sure you can purchase the skull as well. But again, the skull looks beautiful, really, really nicely sculpted. It's absolutely gorgeous looking overall as far as the sculpt and detail goes. They have included so much detail within the skull as well as the Dunkleosteus model itself. It's just mind-blowing how much detail they've included in both, and you can see even like little cracks and crevices and just imperfections in the fossil, in quotation marks, itself. So on top of the realism of the Dunkleosteus model, you have a ton of realism within the Dunkleosteus skull model as well, and a really nice paint job to boot, because you have really nice tones of brown, giving it sort of like a very museum-like appearance to it. Exactly what I would expect to see on a Dunkleosteus skull if I were walking through a museum and happened to walk upon a Dunkleosteus skull, again at a much larger size, but I would expect it to look pretty much just like this. So both of these together are insanely awesome, and I could not possibly be happier to add these to my collection. So if you would like to pick these up, I will include a link in the description to ThinkArt on Facebook. And again, if this is something you are interested in, on top of trying to acquire this as soon as possible to make sure you get that Dunkleosteus skull, in general, I would recommend acquiring this as soon as possible, because ThinkArt models are only out for a limited time before he retires them, and you can no longer buy them, as all of the previous ThinkArt models, I believe, are now retired with the Allosaurus, the Styracosaurus, and the Mosasaurus that we've had prior to this. They are all now retired. So again, if this is something that you do want to pick up, and I highly recommend if you are interested that you do just that, I would get on ordering it right away before it is officially extinct forever and you'll no longer have an opportunity to pick one of these up, which would just be terribly sad because it is incredibly nice. So again, check the description. Make sure you head on over to Facebook and pick yourself up this beautiful ThinkArt Dunkleosteus. If you do not have social media, you can contact me as well to help you place an order for this if you do want to pick one of these up. But otherwise, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.